So what we want to talk about first is preparing workers for those jobs. You know, this conversation is really inextricable from the conversation about education. If there aren't workers who are prepared to take the jobs, who have the skills, the training, the education to take the jobs in the future looks pretty bleak. So that's where we want to start the conversation. I'm wondering, and I posed this to a group of people last night, and they had very different answers. What do you think the skills of the future are? What are the necessities for new workers, and where should they be getting those skills?
Creativity, change factors, being able to move on a dime, whether that's a company or an individual. So probably the greatest characteristic for a young person who is looking at their career over 30 years, I would say would be creativity, talent, education, and the ability to be excited about change. Because we know over a young person's career, they're going to go into many different pieces of their career. And so to be able to change, to be able to be excited about that, and to be lifelong learners so that they know that they are going to be skilled for that next position, I think are some very important components for the next workforce.
President Peterson?
So I think probably the thing I'd add is adaptability. I mean, to try to envision the work environment 20 or 30 years from now and understand what type of work environment these young people that are graduating from college today will be experiencing halfway through their career is really a big challenge. If you think about these devices that just came on the market 10 years ago, and you think about how they changed our lives, and then think about what are the advances that are going to happen in the next 20 years. So I think the opportunity, the ability of young people to be adaptable, to be flexible in their career paths. There's statistics that indicate that 65% of the children that are entering primary school today will take or will be employed in jobs that don't exist today when they graduate from college. That's a scary thought.
Yeah. So you guys talked about two things: lifelong learning and adaptability. And I'm wondering if you think the current educational system is well suited to prepare people for both of those. I know a lot of people think I go to school up through high school, then I make the decision about whether or not I can or want to go to college or some other form of post-secondary education. I pick a career, and for a lot of people, that's it, unless they choose to get an advanced degree or choose to go back to school for some other reason. So talk to me about how the current educational system is structured and whether it's adequate for those characteristics, adaptability and lifelong learning.
So I think from a baseline perspective, we're probably in pretty good shape in terms of fundamental education of our young people. But what we're going to see is increasing need for continuing education. A college degree, a technical college degree, is no longer going to last for your entire lifetime. We started an online master's program in computer science. It's a program that for under $7,000, students can get a master's degree in computer science. We have 6,000 students enrolled in that program today. We'll provide or supply 8% of the Masters of Science in Computer Science in the country this year. And the people that are taking that degree, that are pursuing that degree, have college degrees. They have bachelor's degrees in computer science or electrical engineering, some form of science. And when we first started the program, we had about 250 students in the first cohort. 12 of them had PhDs. And they wanted to go back and get some sort of continuing education, some retraining so that they could meet the needs of the workforce today.
Gillian, you asked about adaptability, and I speak on behalf of the Technical College System of Georgia. We are 22 colleges strong. We have about 85 campuses around Georgia, and adaptability is pretty much our #2 piece after workforce development being our top mission. It's very interesting. In this room today, you have employers who we know and who know workforce development is so very important. We have board members, we have a former commissioner in here, and what they will all tell you about every technical college system or every technical college is the responsibility is to listen to companies. What are they going to need 5, 10 years down the road, and how do we make sure our curriculum is in alignment with those companies and that workforce development need? And so we have a board meeting today. We have a board member in the audience, yes, and others represented here today. And they are right now talking about the technical education programs within our colleges. Are they exactly what they need to be? Do any of them need to be changed? Do they need to be advanced? And how do we do those? And we turn those around monthly. So in regards to being adaptable and being flexible, that's what the Technical College System of Georgia prides ourselves on.
And on the topic of adaptability, you guys have a program that is tailored towards reskilling, correct? And this was one of the things that I've been talking to people about a lot. It's not just preparing the next generation of workers, right? It's helping the generation of workers who are working now to prepare themselves for all of the ways that the job market is going to change. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you're doing on that front?
Every college has a vice president of economic development who's responsible to go out to their local companies and ask, what do you need? Are you putting in a new line? And this is the exciting part. So let's say I'm working there and I'm mid through my career and someone's about to put in a new line of technology that I'm not necessarily comfortable with. It's our responsibility at the technical colleges to go out and do retraining for those employees so that they can be reskilled and go into that new line and continue their careers. So we do a lot of retraining through contract training at our colleges. But I look out to Roger Brown in the audience, and I obviously cheer about Quick Start. Quick Start is our training program for economic development. When we have new companies come into Georgia, we have just been named for the 8th year, the #1 economic development workforce training program in the nation for 8 years running. And that is really in partnership with our Department of Economic Development through Governor Dill to make sure that we have a training program specific for Georgia companies who are growing with jobs or new companies that are locating here. So the companies that the mayor mentioned earlier, we work with those companies to make sure that their employees are ready to be their skilled workforce day one of production or day one of operations for a headquarters.
Yeah. President Peterson, a lot of people think about manufacturing as a dying industry. That's the thing that we hear over and over again. You guys are actively trying to work on innovating that sector, bringing more technology to that sector, and producing the workers who would be skilled at going into that sector. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes to put together a program like that?
Sure, and this is one of the areas where we've got a great partnership with the technical college system to look at manufacturing. People think about manufacturing and they have the kind of the 3 Ds. It's dumb, dirty, and dying. The reality is manufacturing is increasing in a whole host of areas. It is an exciting area. We're working with the technical colleges, our summer programs. We've got a number of summer programs through Seismic, which is kind of our outreach for middle school kids to help them understand what the job opportunities are in manufacturing. In the Griffin Spalding School District, we have 4 3D printers that are in the middle schools there where students can learn about advanced manufacturing and additive manufacturing and some of the exciting things that are happening there. And we just recently announced, or it was announced that we received a $20 million grant from the National Science Foundation for an engineering research center in cell-based manufacturing. This is $20 million for the first phase. There's a second phase that's $20 million. Bernie Marcus committed $16 million gift to help support that initiative. And so this is, when you think about cell manufacturing, sometimes it's a little hard to understand, but this is, as you are looking at cell replacement therapy, you can't grow these cells in a petri dish. Today there's no large-scale manufacturing processes available for growing cells for replacement tissue, for cartilage and those types of things, and no way to measure the quality of those cells. So that's what's going on. It's a partnership with the Technical College System, the University of Georgia, Georgia State, and a number of companies here. Very excited about doing that. So there's some really exciting things going on in manufacturing. Again, people have a tendency to think of automobile manufacturing where the robots are spot welding, but there's a whole host of areas that are very, very exciting.
Yeah. When we think about lifelong learning and when we think about retraining and getting skills after you've already been in the workforce, the conversation about credentialing comes up quite a bit. And I'm wondering, one, how industry partners are responding to those credentials, and 2, if getting different skills, if being retrained is worth it without a credential.
So I think the answer is absolutely. I'm not sure that employers are as interested these days in what the credentials are as they are in terms of the skill set. They're more interested to understand what are the skill set that folks have, what is the retraining that they need or that they can participate in. We see our professional education, the unit within Georgia Tech in professional and distance education is growing very, very fast. 45,000 students taking various courses, some degree programs, but a lot of it's just coursework so that people can get additional skills. I mentioned this online masters. It was interesting. We had some overachievers, I guess, that graduated a little early, 8 students that graduated in the first group in that program. 4 of them were from AT&T. They helped to actually support the program, and I was meeting with Randall Stevenson down in Plano, the CEO, and he asked how it was going, and I said, it's going really well. What do you think? And he had 4 of the first 8 graduates were AT&T employees. And I said that what we had to do was to try to help people understand what the career path is after they completed this degree. And it was kind of funny because I said nobody gets an MBA so they can keep the same job. Mm-hmm. And he kind of laughed a little bit and looked at the guy next to him, Bill Blaze, who was our coordinator, the person that helps connect with AT&T. And they had a young woman who had been in this program, and she had just sent Randall an email about 3 days before I got there saying that she was taking a job somewhere else. And so what we're seeing is people experience, gain experience, get additional learning, participate in additional learning opportunities, get additional education. Companies have to identify what the path forward is for those individuals. They have to have some sort of career ladder so that they can stay at the same company and still advance.
And how are you guys working with industry partners to kind of develop what that path is and then be able to use that in your curriculums?
So one of our best tools are our apprenticeships. Mm-hmm. And we are working very closely with local industry to make sure that we are doing apprenticeships. We do this in conjunction with the Department of Economic Development, their workforce division, in a Work Smart program where the student obviously is going to college, receiving a certificate, degree, or diploma, also having the opportunity to go to work at the same time and earn money and understand what the workforce is like and what their career can be like. We find we're also working with the German American Chamber of Commerce with also a certification through the German American Chamber. And what we find is when we can get students, and it's kind of, I'll always say to a company, whether you need a German American Chamber of Commerce certificate, a Department of Labor certificate, an internship, a co-op like Georgia Tech has been so successful at for decades, the Technical College System of Georgia wants to partner with you, because when we see a student inside a company and they are able to understand how their education relates to the job they are going to do, the money they are going to make, the house they are then going to purchase, it's just incredible. Georgia has done an incredible job, and Mayor Reed was so kind in complimenting Governor Dill, and it's been so fun watching them, hasn't it? Because they are an incredible partnership. Governor Dill's done some incredible things in education, and I will say from the Technical College System of Georgia's perspective, the most incredible has been his ability to say, for our high schoolers, you can access college credit. Mm-hmm. And so there's been a college and university component for our high school students, but through that, it's also brought students through apprenticeships into our Georgia companies. The coolest guy I've met so far has been a young gentleman in Noonan, and his name is Cooper Goldbeck, and he decided, he was with West Georgia Technical College, which is a good partner of Georgia Tech also. He wanted to be a part of an apprenticeship. We connected him with Grinzenbach, which is a great company out of Germany that the Department of Economic Development had worked with. And he started working as a welder there. And he started making money. He very quickly got on their health plan. He very quickly started understanding that he needed to save for a house. And this guy's not even graduated from high school yet. He then decided that he wanted a 401k plan. That was the one piece that the company couldn't figure out for him. And so he said, no problem, I just went to the bank and I did some saving plans. But more importantly, the young man said to me, what I realized was when I walked into the company, Grinzenbach is a great company that does true projects for manufacturers. So one day they may be doing huge welding components. The next day it may be an automotive component. The next day it may be a paint component. And he said, I realized to be successful long-term in this company, I needed to be valuable in each area of the company. So when a project came in, they said, Cooper's our guy. Yeah. And so when you get a student into a company, whether it's like that in manufacturing or whether it's with Georgia Power, who I see in the area, and we're talking about nuclear engineering technology or how to be in a headquarters and into leadership, when you get a student into a company, they very quickly put two and two together of what does that education, what does that master's, what does that certificate mean, and which one do I need to go for, or which one do I want to go for to then go back to the employer and say, guess what, I did it. And you know what? Sometimes the employer hasn't had that credential on their mind, but when the individual has earned it and they know to go back and say, look at this certificate that I am now certified to assist your company in, the HR department very quickly realizes that's talent and that's value, and we want to hire that individual, and we want these students to grow into Georgia's leaders in running our Georgia companies.
Right. I have a few more questions for our panel, but we do want to get you guys in on the conversation, so if you have questions, start thinking about them and condensing them down into very short bites. Thank you. So I want to follow up on some of the things the mayor said. And one of them is talking about why Atlanta specifically is such a great place to think about workforce development. You have all these wonderful schools, you have all of these major companies, and they have these great partnerships, and they're able to do all of these things. What are some of the lessons that you guys have learned about doing workforce development that you think are scalable or applicable or usable for other cities around the country?
So I've been in Kansas City, Houston, Denver, and Atlanta. And Atlanta's the first city that I've been in where the business community takes such an active role in the health and well-being of the city. I mean, when I first came, I was so impressed that when you go to the Metro Atlanta Chamber or the Georgia Chamber, the CEOs from these large Fortune 500 companies are actually there. They're at the table. They're invested in the city. They're working to try to make sure that the city can be successful. They understand that the success of the city will foster success of their companies. So that the engagement of the business community is just absolutely huge here in Atlanta in terms of helping foster an environment and a climate that attracts other businesses. And I think we've seen some success. The mayor said, I think the number he gave was they've gone after 25 companies and landed 18 of them. Gretchen and I both participate in the recruiting of some of those companies, and what we see is the other business leaders in the community come out to try to help attract these new businesses. And that means a lot to them. That type of climate, that type of environment is very, very beneficial. The other thing is Atlanta's got kind of all the pieces to the puzzle are here. Great diversity, a great city, a great airport, leadership in the business community, Fortune 500 companies, great educational institutions that span the whole spectrum. We are one of the largest education cities in the country. When you look at the number of students, post-high school, post-secondary school students that exist in the Metro Atlanta area, the number's huge. I think there's 56 different post-secondary educational institutions in the Metro Atlanta region, and so we've got education, diversity, business leadership, just all the pieces are there to help make it successful.
Right. Are you in agreement with that, or?
I'm in agreement. My one word would be partnerships.
Yeah.
Who would, when you think about an individual who's running a university, one of the greatest universities in the world, might I say. Can you tell I've been in global commerce? And when I travel around the world, they say Atlanta, Coca-Cola, CNN, Hartsfield-Jackson, and Georgia Tech. So when you look at the president of Georgia Tech working with the commissioner of the Technical College System of Georgia, these are partnerships, whether it's in education, business, we are all together. You asked what would be scalable for other communities. Continue in the partnership that is needed for the day.
Right. I'm going to take some audience questions. I think I see two right back there. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. Hi, my name is Jeffrey Martin, and I'm a team member here at Honor Code here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have a quick question in terms of knowing that you all do a lot of the workforce development work in post-secondary. How are you seeing this type of, I guess, how are you looking at how K-12 schools are playing a role into developing our future workforce?
So again, I mentioned Seismic. This is a center that we have that focuses on primarily middle school. We have programs that start with rising second graders and go through eighth grade, the Horizons program. So we have some elementary school kids and kids beyond middle school, but primarily focused on middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade young people. Bring them on campus. There's about 75 programs that we offer in the summer where these young people can come onto campus and learn about science and technology, engineering and math, and understand that it's not a whole bunch of old white guys in short-sleeved white shirts with skinny black ties and horn-rimmed glasses, that it can be exciting. And those programs are, I think, one of the reasons that we're seeing such a large increase in the diversity of our incoming freshman class, and in particularly the growth in women. We've gone from under 30% in the freshman class, the females in the freshman class, to 43% in this year's freshman class. And I think to a large degree it's because of these summer programs that we have where we work with the middle school kids. We work with the middle school and elementary school teachers. They come in, learn about some of the new technologies. They go back to their schools and can take that information. We work with them on developing laboratory experiments, and that is having a big influence and a big impact on the quality of the students that we're able to attract from within Georgia to Georgia Tech.
So, Gillian, may I grab this question? Yeah. Because this is one of the most exciting things that I have seen happen in Georgia in a very long time. Listen to this number, 21,000. 21,000 high school students are studying with our colleges today. Through dual enrollment, through the legislature and Governor Dill's work, we have the ability now for our high school students to go to college during their high school day, not doing double work, during their high school day. It counts towards their high school credit and their college credit, absolutely free, in dual enrollment. We have seen some school systems on the local level say all of our students should be engaged, or the majority, and then we have seen some that are still trying to figure this out. These students, these high school students, have the ability to do technical programs with us, to do general education, their math and sciences with us, with our university partners. But all of our 9th through 12th graders have the opportunity in Georgia to participate in dual enrollment. So what does that mean? It means high school students are getting engaged in college and university credit earlier. We hope that this provides us the ability to get these students into our Georgia companies' hands 2 years earlier, where they're coming straight out of the technical college system into our Georgia employers, or they're going on for their masters and their doctorates, and they're coming out. We still hope that they'll be 2 years a little younger and right into the workforce. So through dual enrollment, also through our college and career academies, which we are very excited about, we are engaging Georgia high schoolers better than we ever have before. 21,000 high school students will be in our colleges and universities today.
So I want to piggyback on that just a little bit, because I'm a big fan too. This dual enrollment program is spectacular. We have 2 freshmen at Georgia Tech this fall that graduated from Atlanta Metro with their associate degree before they graduated from high school. So that the high school graduation was a couple of weeks after Atlanta Metro. So we've got 2 freshmen that came in. They took 2 full years, got an associate's degree. They come into Georgia Tech, enter as juniors, and the cost of that was minimal, if any at all. And these young people are going to be able to come to Georgia Tech, graduate in 2 or 3 years, probably go on to graduate school perhaps, but this is a great, great program, and just kudos to the mayor, the governor for their partnership and helping this work. It's a statewide program and huge step forward for Georgia.
All right, and I think we want to take another question if we can. One right over there.
Good morning, thank you. Catherine Bruni with SunTrust Bank and Georgia Tech grad. Go Jackets. So there's a lot of research out there around loss of productivity in organizations due to things like financial stress, health issues, and so on. Is it the responsibility of universities to help with some of these life skills, and if so, what are we doing in that space?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations for universities seem to continue to grow. 25 years ago, universities educated people for jobs. Today, we're more focused on trying to educate young people for careers, to try to help them understand what those careers are. And that career education occurs not just in terms of technical skills and technical knowledge, but in terms of life skills. So we see what we're doing at places like Georgia Tech expanding to encompass many of the skills that they'll need in order to be successful. Gretchen talked about apprenticeships. Got a lot going on in co-op, which is a great opportunity for students to enter the workforce while they're still in college and then learn some of the job skills that they need that aren't based on calculus or physics or technical courses, but more of the social skills, the ability to work in teams. They bring those back and share that information with their classmates, and that can be very helpful.
Right. And we could talk about this all day, but I think we're going to put a pin in it right there. Everyone, join me in thanking our panel. Thank you.